I think a couple of years ago I was quite pessimistic. I'd look at politics and I'd just think, what's the point? We're going to vote for someone who just wants money. And I've seen a lot about like Palestine, just like general lack of humanity in politics. It really like gave me a burning passion. There's something in my belly. I was like, I need to do something, but I don't know what I need to do. I kind of saw the light with Zach Polanski's what he's been saying, and that was the moment where it was like, that's what the passion was about. One guy was into conspiracy theories, so when I heard that, my initial thought was that he's not going to be voting Green. But then he started talking about how everything comes back to money. So I mentioned to him, well, we don't take big donations, and if we do, we really scrutinise and look into it. And by the end of it, he said, you've got my vote. You don't want the status quo, you're looking for change, and you want to challenge reform. Look to me as a hopeful alternative.
Welcome to Greens Rising, where we shine a light on the people across our region who are stepping up, speaking out and bringing hope back into local politics. Today we're shining a light on Nunthorpe, and we're joined here by someone who's lived there almost all his life. His name is Sam Boardman. He's standing in the upcoming by-election, and at just 22, he brings a freshness and energy and a genuine love for this place that you don't often hear in politics. Sam's not here with decades of party machinery behind him. He's here as a local lad, someone who grew up on these streets and now wants to represent the people who make this community what it is. We're going to talk about what drew him into the Greens, what he's hearing on the doorstep, and the kind of councillor he hopes to be if Nunthorpe chooses him on the 4th of December. Sam, great to have you here. How are you feeling about this campaign?
Excited, I'd say. Wasn't too hopeful at the start, but going out there, speaking to people has put a lot of hope and a spring in my step.
Oh, brilliant. I was going to ask questions about the practical things you've done during your campaign. But before we get on to that, tell me a bit about you, in real life, outside of politics.
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying I'm on the spectrum, so I was diagnosed when I was like 12. So I used to be quite shy, not really out there, couldn't really make eye contact. I put myself out of my comfort zone when I was at uni, doing door-to-door sales for a year. Yeah. From that, I've learned how to speak to people, like interact properly, and my confidence has just grown.
Do you think there's any superpowers?
Potentially. I mean, I do feel like I do look at things a bit deeper, I perhaps overanalyse at times, but yeah.
I mean, in politics, over-analysis is probably not a bad thing. Yeah, people too often don't sort of look at the information before they jump to conclusions.
Right, yeah.
So that's important, I think.
Yeah.
Give us one memory of Nunthorpe that makes you feel like it's your home.
It's just meeting up with my friends and being able to walk to Rosemary Topping. I think that's a core memory. We do that quite often now as well. I just love the countryside and getting out in nature and stuff like that.
Yeah, me and my family, we walk up Rosemary Topping, actually.
Oh, I love the walk as well. It's really nice.
Going to ask you a few questions now about why you're standing. You joined the Greens only a few months ago. What were your feelings about politics before joining the Greens? Why did you decide that it was the right time to do it? What made you think I need to join a political party?
I think a couple of years ago I was quite pessimistic. I'd look at politics and I'd just think, what's the point? We're going to vote for someone who just wants money. That's the way I used to see things. And in terms of like the timing now, seeing a lot about like Palestine, a lot about just like general lack of humanity in politics, it really like gave me a burning passion. There's something in my belly. I was like, I need to do something, but I don't know what I need to do.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think lots of people have been so appalled by the coldness of our position, especially in relation to Palestine and Gaza. It's shocking. And I think that, as you say, puts so many people off mainstream politics.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of saw the light with Zach Polanski's what he's been saying and what he's been doing, and it just inspired me to try and help in whatever way I could, and that also inspired me to stand. So I got the opportunity through a phone call, and that was the moment where it was like, that's what I needed to do. That's what the passion was about. I can do something with it.
I mean, if you don't mind me saying, you're a young person. One of the strengths of the Green Party is that young people have a really strong voice. In fact, young people in the Green Party have been very instrumental in influencing our policies in various areas. We have a very open approach to policy development, and young people are really engaged with that. Yeah. So it's a young party, and you're joining a young party. I think, to me, that there's a lot of hope there. Young people are much more likely to vote Green. There are polls done on this, and I think if you poll up to about the age of 40 or 45, then Greens would win the general election. It's just the people above the age of 50 that don't support us so much. But another thing I see, looking at this sort of thing, is that people of that over 50 age are much, much more susceptible to misinformation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any thoughts on that? I mean, it would appear to me that young people are better at looking at social media and deciphering the rubbish.
But obviously we grew up on it, didn't we? It's our bread and butter. I do see quite a lot of like AI right-wing rhetoric getting pushed as well.
Yeah.
And not necessarily people believe it, like they know it's AI, but they just still engage with it because it's the message that's being spread.
Yeah.
And I would argue there's still people our age that are doing that. Like I see some of people that I went to school with reposting that sort of content.
Yeah.
And that's quite a concern to me as well. It's like, firstly, AI is bad as a whole, and secondly, the message that they're spreading.
Coming on to the local communities of Nunthorpe, and I know you've been out knocking on doors talking to people. What have they been saying? What have been the top issues that people have said is important to them?
I mean, quite a lot of people aren't happy with our current government. For what I understand, they believe that Labour have let them down. So, you know, I'm trying to offer that hopeful alternative, trying to keep people still on the left, but bring a bit of hope towards it. In terms of like local issues, I'm hearing a bit of public transport, schools underfunding. One area, like every doorstep on that street, they live right behind like a forest at the school. Years ago, they used to like trim the forest down. They stopped doing that, so people are having problems with the fencing, not getting sun into the back gardens.
The council are cutting green space management.
Yeah.
Of course, there's something happening across the whole country.
100%.
Any particular conversations you've had that have stuck with you on the doorstep?
Two come to mind, and quite funnily, like they were quite weird, but I kind of enjoy that.
Okay.
It was great conversations with people like that.
Yeah.
One guy was like quite into conspiracy theories, you know. So when I heard that, my initial thought was that he's not going to be voting Green. But then he started talking about how everything comes back to money. So I mentioned to him, you know, well, we don't take big donations, and if we do, we really scrutinise and look into it.
We have an ethical screening process.
That's the one.
For donations above £500, I think.
Yeah, so I sort of mentioned that to him, and by the end of it he said, you know, you've got my vote. So he wanted a revolution, is that what he was saying? And he said, you know, that's not going to happen with just one person. And I was like, well, you know, it's where it starts. So another guy, he was saying, I'm in the wrong party. That's the first thing he said. I said, I'm representing the Greens. He said, you're in the wrong party. You need to be in a more established party. I just listened to him, you know, I just listened to what he had to say. He had a lot to say.
Yeah.
Agreed with him where I could. And by the end of it, he said, you know, I'm going to put your photo in my window. And I was like, all right, that's really cool of you.
That's lovely, isn't it? Because I think, especially in places like Nunthorpe, you've got to remember, Labour have controlled that area for generations, and people generationally have voted Labour. So that means that their councillors that they've previously had have become extremely complacent. You know, they don't go out knocking on doors and talking to people or delivering regular newsletters to keep people informed about what you're doing.
Yeah.
None of that happens. So when someone like you turns up, rocks up, knocks on a door, it's a wow moment for people. Someone who's bothered about politics is actually coming to talk to me.
Yeah.
They've never had that before because Labour have just taken them for granted.
100%.
So just doing that, I think you'll have a big impact, and you're clearly a very amicable person, so I think you'll do well on the doorstep.
Yeah.
Thinking now about challenges, I've got some issues here. Transport, housing development, schools, the woods you were talking about.
Yeah.
What feels most urgent to people in that community at the moment?
Obviously hearing a lot of different opinions,
Yeah.
but I'd lean more towards the housing development. We've already had 2 new build estates pop up, and there's development for a third one as well.
Yeah.
Anyone that you speak to is not a big fan of new build estates as it is, especially due they're not being affordable, and the fact that they're getting built on green spaces as well.
I mean, this seems to be a common pattern now across the country, that bulk developers are now pretty much able to call the shots in terms of exactly what sort of houses they build and where they build them.
Yeah, exactly. So
very frustrating.
They are inevitable at the end of the day. I'll obviously try and not get them in there, but if they are coming in, I'd want them to be on brownfield spaces, and also like sustainable development in there. So, you know, solar panels getting built.
Are they building executive homes, big detached houses, or are they building houses that actually align with what people want?
Yeah, it's the first one. It's the former.
It always is.
Yeah.
That's another thing about it, isn't it? I mean, why does housing nowadays make no attempt to align with actual evidenced need in a community?
I mean, I could look at myself, because I'm trying to get into the housing market, trying to get myself a home, and it's like a kick in the face when you want something affordable. You're looking around, there's not many options, houses that are way out of my budget.
The only people that benefit from the current state of the housing market are the bulk developers in terms of the profits that they make. So if the people vote to send you to the council, what's the first thing you'd want to get stuck into?
Yeah, I think it would be the housing development. I think that would be the first thing that I would look at. School budgets as well, just like the Woods area, that one.
Yeah.
It just kind of baffled me how that was like still a problem going on when it seems quite easy to fix. But I'd also want to bring the community like closer. Things do feel a bit more antisocial, and I want opportunities for people to get together. And with doing that as well, I'd be able to hear more opinions and also see what else needs to be done.
That's really interesting and well said as well. I mean, community building is such an important role for all councillors, I think. Those creating opportunities for people to get together and meet each other and not feel so isolated.
Yeah.
So what's your style? Are you a listener, a bridge builder, an energy bringer? How do you see yourself in a room full of residents?
I think I'm adaptable, that's what I'd say. I can definitely bring the energy when I need to, but I also know there's a time and a place. And I think it is quite important to sometimes acknowledge that I need to sit back and actually hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
Potentially after listening to what they've got to say, then I can bring some energy. And
I think the listening is so important.
Yeah.
And that's what gets neglected. And what we should be doing is listening and understanding what people's priorities are and trying to get something done about them.
That's where everything started for me with this campaign. It's listening to the people first and then building ideas from what they've got to bring.
Absolutely. What's your long-term hope for Nunthorpe for the future?
First and foremost, public transport. I want that to be smoothly running. Buses come like every hour into town, and it's happened so many times where the bus randomly gets cancelled. They have to wait another hour. And again, I'd love to see like smiles on people's faces. People are just heads to the floor, maybe looking at the phone, not really engaging with people. So I'd love to see the community like come back together. And
you know you've won when you can put smiles back on people's faces.
Yeah.
And finally, what would you like to say to residents listening today ahead of the by-election?
I'd like to say, if you don't want the status quo, you're looking for change and you want to challenge reform, look to me as a hopeful alternative. That's what I would say.
Fantastic. Well said, Sam. Really lovely to have you here. And I really wish you the best for this forthcoming by-election. I think you've got every chance. And there certainly seems to be a thing in the air at the moment that might benefit you. Let's see how things go.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah.
Whether you're for the Greens, for someone else, or still making up your mind, what matters most is remembering that local politics is about real people trying to make things better. If you live in Nunthorpe, Sam will be on your ballot paper on the 4th of December. If his message today resonated with you, do take a moment to read more, reach out, or simply have that conversation on the doorstep. Thank you for listening to Greens Rising. Please like, subscribe, make sure to share the episode with everyone you know. We'll be back soon with more voices from across the North East who are bringing real hope and real change into our communities. Take care. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.